very differing strengths. Of course, Cloud9, the former Laserkins team, they really pride themselves on great shot calling and great Sombra play. Misfits, by comparison, they did used to value themselves on really strong dive backed up by Tvik on Tracer, but with Logix being on this new Misfits roster, we might not be seeing Tvik on Tracer at all.
Absolutely, yeah. There's interesting mix-ups, but the teams are now going to start to roll out now onto the first section of Lijiang Tower. And they're meeting themselves head on. Very traditional team compositions being ran, but look at that first pick. Gray finding Zebasai straight in the mix of things.
Gray channeling his inner boombox here early on, and it's a nice start here from C9. Tvik, though, evening things back up. 5 versus 5 here in this early Lijiang Tower skirmish. And what we see right now is both teams bending back a little bit. Neither wanting to super deep dive in, giving each other some space, but it's Misfits right now overpowering Cloud9, and they're going to get some early positioning here on the point.
Absolutely, very interesting play so far, but the point is still being contested. Logix will pick it up and flip it over for them now. Picks will start to fly in once again. Ultimates also starting to come online here and there, but as it stands, Misfits with a solid foothold here for this first round on Lijiang Tower.
And the situation Misfits is in right now is very good because not only do they have positioning, Tvik is able to hang back here with Attack Visor, and they have a Transcendence on deck. C9 is going to have to open up the sound barrier, but if Misfits waits just a little bit, they'll have a great Transcendence in tune. But here comes C9. They drop the beat and they go right in.
Now moving in with a ton of ults being used. Zebasai gets the boop off onto Crusade. In the meantime, a lot of ults going to be used here as Tvik wants to use his own tactical visor just to lay the foundation for his team's success. Collects 1 kill onto Kip. Will he find a follow-up onto Nevix? The defense matrix will just eat up that Helix rocket. And still, the foothold is maintained by Misfits.
Tvik had plenty of room to work with there. The Transcendence, of course, did keep Misfits alive in that situation, but Tvik is a problem. You cannot leave a DPS player of the caliber of Tvik uncontested for that long.
Absolutely. Now, we're going to see what they can do as they move in. Another attempt here for Cloud9. To be met at the bridge as it stands. They do have the Transcendence to use, as you mentioned. Now the sound barrier is used by Misfits, trying to counteract this aggression. Used pretty early on. Promo Rage now from Mauzazadao. Wants to put in some damage.
The sound barrier came in really late, though, for Misfits. They had already lost 1 before it came down, and that was brutal. C9, they take well advantage. Mauzasa, not wasting the opportunity, dove deep into the back and found a way for C9 to now flip this back in their favor. They get on the board, but Misfits still with 72%.
Absolutely, yeah. Still a long way to go so far for Cloud9, but they do have the 2 support ultimates to work with. The Transcendence and the Sound Barrier. It's going to be very useful for them as they start to move in. Logix looks for the post bomb, connects, and he does get the pick onto Nevix.
That's a big deal here. Now C9, they have to compensate with ultimates of their own. Gray immediately comes out the Transcendence. They're still down 1. Crusade, he has the barrier in reserve, and now he's going to drop it. The B is dropped, but the boom is dropped in the back. The Manatin with the self-destruct finds Crusade early on here, and Misfits off of the opening play from Logix. One of the best tracers in the game at getting those early pulse bombs will very likely now be retaking this point.
Absolutely, the re-flip was there. Now Misfits with 75% and counting, still putting in a bit of damage here and there. See a bit of a replay now of that follow-up pulse bomb from Logix, definitely putting in the work, but as it stands, Misfits do have a couple of ultimates to use here, ZP, to try and initiate into this engagement.
And now you see Tvik right now. He has that Dragon Blade at the ready, and you see C9 moving into a close quarters, and Tvik, no chill whatsoever. The blade is out, and he is painting this room red. It's a double kill for Tvik as he gets exactly what he's looking for.
That's absolutely massive for them as they still head in. Mazaza's going to be falling as well. Every single ultimate being used by Misfits to secure this ending. They want this first round and they want it now. A last-ditch effort going to be made here by Krems as he's just running his way around the map, but he will fall eventually, and with the overtime ticking down, it's looking like it's most likely ZP going to be going to Misfits.
Misfits is in a great position right now. C9 just trying to delay and go for a miracle. They do get down Logix as Kip gets back onto the point, so perhaps the miracle might be in play. They still have a long way to go here, though, as Misfits looks to just control their house, control things, and bring it down a little bit. But here comes Transcendence from C9. They're not out of this here just yet. More and more reinforcements are coming in, but Manatin taking them out just as quickly.
It's a fantastic stall here by Cloud9, trying to basically find this foothold once again into this point. Still ticking the overtime over. Misfits are desperately trying to keep them off the point. In fact, Tvik ends up building up his own Dragon Blade once again, just trying to get up onto cleanup duty here. He's slicing through the opposition, but is he finding the kill, ZP?
He found 1, and so far it's been enough. Misfits is definitely on the bleeding edge, and yes, they will be taking this round away from C9. And Bren, I gotta tell you, this is very nostalgic for me, where you think about how Tvik has had to adapt and go from role to different role over time. Most recently, he was the main Tracer player for Misfits. But the addition of Logix to this Misfits squad has freed up Tvik to go back to his bread and butter, where he can be on more projectile DPS heroes, and we saw some vintage Tvik Genji in that round.
Absolutely, yeah. And looking at this replay here from Tvik, definitely going ham with the Dragon Blade. See what they can do once again in the second round as we're waiting for the teams to just set up. I wonder if we're going to see a switch up in compositions as well.
We very well might. Oftentimes you'll see teams swap up here in the control center to begin with, but ladies and gentlemen, long have you waited. You will not be debated. Instead, it is Doomfist making his grand appearance, and who else to play it but Tvik?
Absolutely. Interesting that Gray actually opting for the Sombra role. Sombra actually quite a phenomenal sort of counteract to Doomfist when he is in play. He'll be looking to build up those EMPs quickly. With that rocket punch going sent into Vix, looking for the one-shot opportunity. Definitely very capable. And
the key here for that rocket punch is you knock someone against the wall, they take bonus damage. But if you can just hit someone, period, it's very good disruption. Ooh. Meanwhile, Gray, we know Sombra is great, but this time taken down by Zupe with the McCree assist, and Misfits able to get early control here on Lijiang Tower.
I absolutely love this this Logix on the McCree roll for counteracting Gray on the Sombra. It's fantastic. You get a flashbanging, you can do all sorts of damage to him, and it does make Gray's life a lot harder. However, ZP does have the EMP to work with. Cloud9 just going to be waiting for these respawns now, the next movement. But again, Misfits are looking really dominant so far in this first map, at least for Lijiang Tower.
And this is very interesting because historically, Control has really been where Laser Kittens, now C9, has made their bread and butter. So if Misfits could take this away, that bodes ill for Cloud9 for the rest of the series. And here, an early Transcendence coming out here. Gray was able to spook that out early on, but with Kib falling, that means that C9, they're gonna have to back out. They don't want to invest anything more into this fight.
Meteor Strike comes out, but get really what he's looking for. In fact, Cloud9 have lost so much HP from players right now. They just have no choice but to back off here and wait for the reset once again. So Misfits still in the driving seat. Plenty of ultimates to use as well. They've still got that sound barrier, even though Zupe's Transcendence did get forced out earlier. So definitely not in a particularly dangerous position.
Right now, the worst thing that could happen to Misfits would be Gray hitting a really high-value EMP, where he gets in over the top, finds multiple members of Misfits, and uses that early on. And he forces EMP here early on. C9, though, they're going to go directly in right after. Nevix, the blade is out. Finds one early on. Krem's falling through. Logix, though, it's high noon. Deadeye into the back. Not going to get quite what he wants here as Misfits. Now, they have to bring themselves back onto the point.
Still trying to contest it. They will get about further to cap and looks like it will go their way potentially. What was that seismic slam coming in from Tvik there? Putting in tons of work. The self-destruct will try and clear them off the point for them to at least flip this one over, but Misfits are not giving up. CP, they're still slamming themselves into the point.
Right now, they still have control of the point, so the more they can delay, the more progress they get. 92%, 93%, but Logix still in this fight. The barrier protecting him, and Misfits, they are starting to bring this back. An EMP comes out by Gray, uses it to take down Zupe, but I don't know if it's going to be enough as Misfits, they are solidifying the point, and it's high noon. A double kill for Logix.
Absolutely, this should be cleanup duty now for Misfits. Just popping off the remaining ultimates. It will be Nevix just trying to basically stagger it up a little bit onto the point, but too little, too late, as it will be the second round going to Misfits in the end. Overtime finally burning down to a crisp.
Let's not forget, this time around for Contenders, Control is 2 out of 3. That means Misfits will be taking the first map of Overwatch Contenders Season 1.
Fantastic play all around. I liked that Gray was switching to the Sombra, but unfortunately didn't quite work out for them. I do actually particularly like Sombra as a counter to Doomfist, but Misfits definitely much more practice with the composition they're running. And as we're saying, you know, we've got 6 weeks. The meta is going to develop. The meta is going to change. It's going to be very interesting to see how it actually does develop during these 6 weeks.
No doubt about it. And right now, this is a case where Doomfist is new. Even when you see good plays with Doomfist right now, it's going to be a while until teams really fully unlock the potential. But what we saw there is that C9 was not necessarily really experienced in dealing with the Doomfist. I wouldn't even say that Tvik was doing tons of work with it, but it did disrupt how C9 was trying to get engages in there. And it also made it more difficult, I think, in a sense, for Gray to find his EMP footing at times, where that last EMP we saw come out wasn't quite the high-value EMP that we know Gray can get.
Absolutely, yeah. He was going with the EMPs time and time again, but the positioning of Misfits was just sublime. You almost like just basically baiting him around the corners. To be fair to him, Lijiang Tower, the control center in particular, there's a lot of angles that you can hide behind to avoid getting connected with the EMP, so it can be quite a tough role for them. But they were struggling against the Doomfist, as you mentioned.
One thing that I think is still very important to note here is that Misfits, with their roster swap, has given to Vic more room to flex to what he likes to flex on historically, where he used to be more known for projectile DPS heroes. Now with Logix taking the hit scan mantle, it is a new Misfits squad where Tavik is more free to, if he can go on a hit scan hero like Soldier if he wants, but he has the flexibility to go to Genji or go to Doomfist, something that he couldn't really do in the last incarnation of Misfits quite as well.
Do you foresee seeing any sort of traditional tank compositions? We've seen Misfits bust out the Doomfist. Can you see potentially them running the Reinhardt, even though they've recently brought in Swoosh on the side of Misfits as their main tank player? You know, not too much experience running that role other than just the Winston role. Can you foresee them seeing the traditional tanks, or is that something that we're waiting for other teams to pull out?
I think, given that we're entering into a new meta, I wouldn't really be surprised by much of anything. I think this is where teams will be more experimental. Misfits, now that they have one round in their favor, I could see them being more likely to go in and potentially try out what's effective, but we don't really know, right? We haven't been in on the scrims that they've done over the course of the week. Maybe they did try that out and it didn't quite work so well, or maybe they did and they just want to save it for a better time. That is the glory of playing on what is a new patch.
Absolutely, yeah. That's what makes this Contenders Season 1 so interesting. As the Analyst desk mentioned before, Doomfist being introduced is really going to shake things up. I know a few people, you know, they're making their voices heard. They're very sick and tired of the dive meta. I personally love it, but this is going to reinvigorate things, and it's made other heroes that we haven't perhaps seen for quite some time much more viable.
Well, I think one thing we saw there, even though it wasn't in response to a Doomfist, is that I think you might be seeing more McCree coming out here because Doomfist is many things, but a tiny hitbox is not one of them. And of course, McCree is a hero that can feast on that in proper time, or perhaps just throw a stun on Doomfist if he dives in a little bit too deeply. There's a lot of different ways that adding a new hero to the game can really enable older heroes that maybe you haven't seen quite as much of actually see more play.
Very interesting now for Volskaya Industries as the map pick here for Cloud9. See what they can do here for the assault section at least. Now, not going to quite see the compositions that they're running just yet, but what are your predictions then coming into this? Because clearly, Cloud9 have something up their sleeves for Volskaya. They picked it purposely, you know, was their map pick coming into this. Can you foresee them? I mean, Gray is a fantastic Sombra player. Sombra especially powerful here on Volskaya.
Well, you've hit the nail on the head. You're going to see Sombra, full stop. It's something that, of course, Gray feels very comfortable in, but Volskaya, we've seen in multiple different matches over the last few months that Sombra is one of the key factors here on this map, even by Assault map standards. So if you have a great Sombra player, going to Volskaya, oftentimes a very good decision, and that's not going to be specific to C9 here. You're definitely going to be seeing Misfits with Zupe bringing out a Sombra of their own.
Now, still waiting for teams to really lock in their choices, but as you can see now, compositions alive. And now Cloud9, one thing I want to point out here is this double hit scan that they're running, and we're going back to the lobby, so not going to be talking about those compositions. I guess we can partially talk about their compositions. So the double hit scan in particular is one thing I wanted to point out, and the fact that they are running Ana on the offensive. Obviously, they can still switch it out. The game wasn't live particularly, but that's an interesting point to pick out.
Well, one of the upsides of if you do run an Ana is that you do have nano boost, where if you get through first with a lot of momentum, you then have a nano boost that can be very effective at clearing out second, where Assault is still at heart a game of momentum at times when you go from point A to point B. So there are some merits to running an Ana early on.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's something that's sort of not seen too much these days. With pretty much most teams like to run a lot of Zenyatta and Lucio, at least in the past. The dive meta being so prevalent, you might see Ana on more defensive sides. She's very effective at long range healing. You might see on Hollywood First Point, for example. But yeah, in this case, that is very interesting. I'm curious to see whether they are actually going to pull it out again once we do get into the lobby, into the game. But
well, if we were going to have some chilly, cool times on Volskaya, it will not be just yet. Map-wise, we're actually going to be going to what I believe is Eichenwald. We're going to a hybrid map,
there we go,
regardless. So it won't be Volskaya this time around. So all that speculation about, are we going to see a Sombra in Volskaya? What are they going to do in Volskaya? Well, you don't have to throw it out, but you might want to put it in the fridge.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Eichenwald is the map pick. And now, well, I'm wondering what we're going to be seeing from these two teams. Eichenwald, the map traditionally quite similar to Assault in a lot of ways, so possibly similar picks, but we will see.
We will see indeed. And of course, this would be Laser Kitten's or Cloud9's pick. And of course, this does play to their style, where you can play a good Sombra on Eichenwald. And generally speaking, maps that give C9 more time to really leverage their coaching staff and have more SEP strategies like Eichenwald, generally it is their cup of tea. They do like playing on maps like these.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Eichenwald been in the map rotation now for quite some time. You know, at one point it was quite a new map and teams really didn't know what to run on it, but it's been in for months and months now. So teams are very much comfortable on it, and it's an interesting one because these hybrid maps definitely open up a lot more opportunities for sort of these pocket pick compositions that you might see that other teams not run. So especially like maps like control maps with being so symmetrical, see a lot of symmetry in compositions that are being ran, but Eichenwald is definitely going to open up a lot of doors.
Well, the cool thing about Eichenwald, too, is that there are multiple ways of going at it. Some teams will prefer the really run things on the ground, and you can run traditional dive here. You can. But you can have some flexibility to go and sort of look for different compositions. Like, on the North American side, we do oftentimes see teams come out with a Fair Mercy composition, where, of course, you can use the verticality to find different ways into the inner courtyard. We've seen Sombro get played both on the attack and on the defense, depending on the team that's going in here. And we have seen ground and pound from time to time as well, if you just want to really brute force your way in with a more traditional tanking composition.
I feel like a lot of the success in compositions, you find you need a lot of mobility. Obviously, that's all we've really been seeing these days with dive composition. But the way Eichenwald is built as a map, especially the second checkpoint in particular, the second stage of Streets phase, you do need a lot of mobility to sort of contest that high ground to a degree. And with the advent of Doomfist, very mobile character, of course, definitely no surprises if we might see him in the game at least.
Well, it does look like we might be seeing Tvik come out here on the Doomfist once more. And Doomfist on the defense is very interesting because going in, a lot of the speculation for how you might use a Doomfist in competitive play, a lot of people sort of thought, oh, you're just going to see him go in the dive and you're going to have even more dive. But as it's turned out, early indications are that you can use Doomfist more on the defense, where you can use him as an ambush character, where you turn the wrong corner and there's a fist, and suddenly you're flying into the wall and quite dead.
He's very effective against dive as well in terms of just peeling, having one more extra hero, because normally it's the role of the Diva or the Lucio to sort of peel for, I guess, your Zen player once they get jumped on by the Winston. But Doomfist definitely opens up a lot more avenue of play for the dive role, the dive meta, I guess, so to speak. But as the countdown begins, compositions-wise, Cloud9 looking like they're going to be rolling out with just a completely traditional dive. They've got Nevix on the Genji, Kib on the Tracer.
So C9, they are absolutely going to be running this more by the book. Meanwhile, Misfits, we don't know where Tvik is just yet, but he will be charging that Doomfist and making going across corners relatively deadly for the C9 team. And they are giving some respect right now. They're not immediately full diving in. They are biding their time. Nevix waiting for the way in, but now C9, they're coming around the backside, and it's looking like they're going to go in.
There we have it. They get the first pick down to Malzaza, which means Cloud9's aggression is really going to be having to be stopped for a certain time being. Gray also getting picked off means it's going to be a bit of a reset here for Cloud9 at least. And Misfits happily just holding on to their point.
Misfits right now, not really challenged too much there. C9, I think they were looking for the right way in. They were a little bit indecisive, and what we saw was that Misfits was able to leap on them first. They took the initiative away, and now C9 has to go in one more time. And this is a vital push here. If they don't get it this time, they're going to have to deal with defensive ultimate. So C9, this time, being more decisive, Malzaza going to leap right in.
There we have it. Now we're going to see the Swift Strike used by Nevix. Tries to put the damage in for them, but the heal's just far too much of the biotic field on the ground. And look at these picks going in favor once again for Misfits, happily defending this, not even losing their support in the initial fight, which means, as you mentioned, ZP, they're going to be having plenty of defensive support, making this much, much harder for Cloud9.
Kib, welcome to the fist, says Tvik there, just punching Kib right in the mouth to finish that out. You're going to be seeing a lot of that. You're going to be seeing a lot of fists connecting with heroes' faces in this meta.
Yeah, Logic's just showing us a bit of his parkour moves. Helix jumping onto the balcony section. But again, now, this is imperative that Cloud9 really get a good push off. If they can use their ults off in a better order compared to Misfits themselves on the defensive side, ZP, that's really what they're looking for to break into this.
And here we go, Gray right now, going to open things up with the Transcendence. C9 is going to be looking to layer these ultimates in one by one. Logic's countering with a attack visor, but in the back, Tvik takes down Nevix early on. Even if C9 is layering their ultimates, which they have, they're down a player. Misfits has already put themselves on the leading edge, and now you look at Logic's. plenty of room to work with in their back. No one's even paying attention to him, and he can lay in all sorts of damage. Malzahsa will be pushing him back.
Nevix getting picked off so early on into that engagement was absolutely detrimental to them there. He had the Dragon Blade, but he just could not get it off. As you mentioned, Tvik getting that initial pick with the Rocket Punch, incredibly powerful ability, 4-second cooldown for the one-shot potential, and it's incredibly difficult to play around it if you're not used to it. Being a new hero, I mean, the teams right now are not quite used to playing around the Doomfist meta.
No, they aren't, and the issue there is that even though they were layering in support ultimates, when you lose one person before you start that, it's difficult. But here comes Nevix, the Blade is out, and here comes C9.
Absolutely going to be looking for a few opportunities. The Blade from Nevix putting in a bit of damage where it can count, and he's definitely getting the picks now. Cloud9 will be finding the advantage they were initially looking for, finding the picks for it. And Tvik tries to go in for the Rocket Punch, but doesn't quite work out for him. Again, Krems just on a sliver of HP will survive in the end as they bring down the remnants of the Misfits squad, and they are going to be able to take point A at least here now.
So finally, it was Nevix cutting through his former teammates, giving a leading edge here to C9. We do see Misfits try and come back in, but it is not successful at all. Nevix says, I put you down, now stay down, as C9 will get this payload moving. However, it's worth noting that that was a very good defense from Misfits. They bought themselves incredible amounts of time.
Absolutely, only 3 minutes now to really push themselves through this streets phase. As you mentioned, great defense coming out for them. We'll see now, Cloud9 do have 2 support ults here. We're going to see Nevix really just putting in work as the Genji roll. That Swift Strike putting in so much damage. The resets as well from getting eliminations meant the Misfits could not find a foothold in that final engagement, in that final fight.
And here's the gamble that Misfits took and lost, that they wanted to buy some time. Instead, they gave Nevix another play. Nevix now leading right in, finds Zupe immediately, slicing right through, finds Swoosh as well. It's a triple kill for Nevix, and right now, this man is on fire.
Nevix has been absolutely performing so far for this map. At least he's built up the Dragon Blades time and time again for his team, and the momentum that Cloud9 have built off the back of it is phenomenal. As you can see here, Crusade is just going to be on cart duty for now. This replay is going to show you exactly what just broke down, and it can be tough to find those initial kills when you're trapped between the Winston and the bubble there, but he managed to get it regardless.
He threaded the needle there in a very good way, and the ultimate again was given to by Misfits on their defense. Misfits in disarray, unable to re-get the momentum here, just struggling to hold C9 back. C9, they're not letting them get the position they want immediately, but there is a little bit of distraction in the payload. Now Misfits have found the kills they're looking for. They're able to take down the Diva as Tvik and Logix get to work.
Absolutely. Now, Zebasai using the sound barrier there to sort of prolong that fight out means that it will be Misfits for now, trying to defend this. Still Cloud9 are fighting back, pushing in the cart, but they're just zipping around the map as it stands. Kip just looking for an opportunity, still holding on to this pulse bomb, waiting for the right time to strike, and as the team start to respawn, ZP definitely looking for more opportunities. Did Swoosh just get booped off there as well?
I think he might have, and this is interesting. Normally you'd want to go for a full reset, but C9, they're not giving Misfits any rest, and this is a gamble that's working out. Misfits though, self-destruct over the top, does not connect. C9 might be doubling down even more. Nevix holding onto the blade. This could be big here, Bren, as Nevix is going to be looking to move in over the top. It might get canceled out by the Transcendence, but we will have to see as C9 approaching. 1 minute remaining.
Time is ticking down. Nevix, as you mentioned, with the Dragon Blade. Now, even if he does manage to get that just one-for-one trade of the support defense of the Transcendence that Zupe is holding on to, still might not be a bad fight, as Cloud9 do have plenty of other ults. Now here we have it. They're initiating in with the sound barrier. Nevix with the Dragon Blade into the back as well.
Nevix immediately striking blood in the beginning of this fight. The Transcendence was out, but it was not enough. Nevix is a beast unchained right now. 2 opening kills here from C9. And though there's a little bit evening back and forth, C9 is getting more momentum. They're pushing back Misfits. So with Crusade falling there, now it's a little bit more deadly. There might be the opportunity for Misfits to come back out here, and respawn advantage is starting to rear its head.
Absolutely. Now, as you can see the defense coming out, the sound barrier is basically a cherry on top. We see the Transcendence being used by Gray to just try and contest the point to the best of his abilities for his team to get back into the engagement, but it is do or die time right now. Self-destruct by Manatin into the back will force Cloud9 into unfavorable positions, and the frag's definitely falling in favor for Misfits. This will most likely be them being stopped onto this bridge as Kip just whiffs his pulse bomb in the final moments.
C9 was so close, yet so far. They were almost about to get the momentum they needed off of their idea of just keeping up continual pressure. They did not go for a full reset. However, they weren't able to get quite enough, and instead, it will be C9 not getting to point 2 here, and Misfits holding on.
I thought Mozaza was about to show us what was up then, just coming in with the primal rage in the final moments. I was about to think we were eating our own words. That stall was A decent attempt, but again, as you mentioned, the defenders had a respawn advantage. Getting back into the fight, back to defend that payload much, much faster means that we only saw the cart land into the streets phase. Not great for Cloud9.
Certainly not. And it is worth noting here that part of C9's strength in this matchup is that they do really pride themselves on good first point defenses. So they're going to have to match at a minimum what we saw from Misfits. If Misfits is able to roll through point A on their first attack, that might be all but over here early on. So the first few fights are going to be very crucial here to the start of this matchup.
How do you feel about Sombra being ran here? Now, on the first section, at least, you can keep running Sombra into the second streets phase as well, and Sombra is almost a keystone piece in compositions when you're trying to really get full hogs, because the EMP just charges so quickly, and it's so devastating to teams. It looks like Cloud9 are not initially going to be running it. Do you think that's a bit of a mistake, ZP?
It very well could be a bit of a mistake coming in here, just because of the fact that even if there's a meta reason to not necessarily run Sombra here based on what C9 thinks they're going to be facing, Sombra is one of Bray's best heroes. He's still a very good Zenyatta, no doubt about it, but they are in a case where they need to have an incredibly strong defense, and one of the ways of having a defense that's able to layer good fight after good fight is to leverage the ult economy advantage that EMP gives you. So it is interesting to see C9 come out here without the Sombra pick.
Once again, Misfits just teasing with the Vic on the Doomfist. He has been absolutely pounding his way through the opposition throughout this game. Really been a fist of the North Star, if you like, for the side of Misfits, making the plays where it counts. As the countdown begins, though, we'll see, again, traditional comps. It's the double hit scan by Cloud9 on the defense, but still running with the dive, the Zen, and the Lucio.
All I've learned here, Bren, is that Tvik was not skipping arm day since the last time we saw him in Australia. I just imagine him with one incredibly large arm, just really getting into the feel and spirit of Doomfist. But Misfits right now, not wasting much time, and Tvik gonna dive in. The Doomfist is in.
Yeah, he's searching for the opportunity, didn't quite get what he was looking for, just about missed. Crusade there, dodging and juking him, and now they're gonna start to play into the building. Bit of a dangerous scenario if you're playing against a Doomfist, because that just leaves him with a tiny gap to aim for, and look at that, does get the teammate there onto Krems, following up with a few kills, and with that first initial pick, ZP, this is looking very winnable for them.
This is looking incredibly good for Misfits, and just as equally bad right now for Cloud9. And what we've been seeing from Tvik is that he has been making going for the Diva a priority, where Divas are getting bopped back. They're under pressure by this Doomfist, and it was Tvik who got that early DMAC. Misfits, a very clean take here early on, and now C9. If they want to win map number 2, they have a long way to go. Logix goes off on the respawns.
This is not great for Cloud9 right now as it stands. Misfits with a huge ultimate advantage. Logix holding onto his pulse. Tvik almost has the Meteor Strike as well. And not to mention the support ult that Zebasai is holding on to. Definitely a favorable position if you are a Misfits fan. And Cloud9, they need to find their way back into this. Logix!
Oh my god!
Goodness me, man! What is that? A triple kill just to keep them locked straight into their base. And with that, I mean, Cloud9, that's disheartening, man. That is just brutal.
Logix, the delivery service with a bang. He is so consistent at landing those early pulse bombs to end the fight before it begins, and really C9, they just wanted to get back out and reestablish. Not gonna happen this time, and the fight right now is underway. The Transcendence is out, and Misfits desperately trying to find room here. Meanwhile though, you were curious about that replay? There's Logix, there's the bomb.
He is just known for just getting those ridiculous pulse bombs, and now Tvik will get the cleanup kill here and there. The point's still being contested. Cloud9 are losing the players, however. They hold the high ground, but not for much longer. Tvik just runs him down with the rocket punch, and it should be, once again, the cart being pushed in at an incredibly rapid pace. 4 minutes, 20 seconds EP, and Cloud9 is do or die time.
It is do or die indeed. The yellow box victory almost there for Misfits in what has been an utterly dominant performance. Meanwhile, from C9, they do have Transcendence. They can come out and delay, and here comes Gray. The Transcendence will be out, but Misfits answering with the beat. They will not go back, and here comes Tvik from on high, dropping right down, and finds Kim! My goodness! The Doomfist doing some work right now.
This should be utterly won now for Misfits. They've already picked up the initial kills. However, Cloud9, look at this destruction coming in. Tvik with the uppercut, finishes it up for his team, and it will be map 2 going to Misfits.
You know, I'm just really glad I never made Tvik angry in any real-life interaction, because I feel like I would have gotten smashed against the wall. That was deadly. Do not get into a bar brawl with Tvik.
He's quite a passive guy in real life, quite quiet, quite keeps to himself, but that was a phenomenal performance by Misfits. Those roster changes definitely coming in handy. Be curious to see what Reinforce says on the desk about this, you know, but regardless of that, that was fantastic performance by Misfits, and worth mentioning, that was Cloud9's map pick, and they ended up losing it in a pretty convincing fashion.
C9 right now, we thought they'd be coming in a little bit stronger than they have here, but this new Misfits roster,